Hey guys, welcome back. So today I want to continue the Bullpup series that I started a couple of weeks ago. Today we're going to take a closer look at the FS2000, which is a bullpup manufactured by FNH. FNH is a Belgium-based company that manufactures a lot of small arms for the world's militaries, including the US military. So let's take a closer look at this rifle this afternoon. The FS2000 is the semi-automatic counterpart of the F2000 select fire military rifle. This bullpup design is made primarily out of polymers. The stock is all polymer. However, the upper receiver has metal reinforcements where necessary to maintain structural integrity. And also the barrel itself is a FN cold hammer forged barrel, which FN is kind of known for, a very high quality barrel. The barrel does have a 1-in-7 right-hand twist on it, and it's also chrome lined. The barrel is 17.44 inches in length. The F2000, the select fire version of this rifle, has a 16-inch barrel. However, to meet minimum length requirements, this rifle had to have an extra 1.5 inches added to the barrel length. So this rifle is just a little over 29 inches in length. It's 29.29 inches in length, I believe. So it meets the BATF's minimum length requirement. The rifle is magazine fed. The magazine goes in back here, behind the pistol grip. The operating mechanism of the rifle is right underneath the operator's cheek. The bolt and carrier ride in an opening inside the receiver right here. So when you're firing the rifle, all of the action's going on in here, you just can't see it. The rifle ejects out of the front of the rifle. That's what really makes this rifle unique in the world of bullpups. This is probably the ultimate evolution of the bullpup learning upon the mistakes or some of the shortcomings of previous designs. And that's why this rifle ejects out the front. Why does it eject out the front? Well, if you're a right-handed shooter and you have an ejection port right here, which is where the ejection port would normally be on a rifle that has the action here, this isn't a problem. It's when you transition to the other shoulder, your face gets in the way of the ejection port area. Rifles like the Steyr AUG eject back here. Now, some of you guys have commented on some of my videos saying, well, but you can put a left-hand bolt in the AUG. You can on some of the AUGs. The A3 NATO, you cannot put a left-hand bolt in it, but again, it doesn't address the issue of CQB, or close quarters combat. If you're doing dynamic transitions from this shoulder, you need to shoot around cover, so you want to transition to the other shoulder, you're not going to stop in the middle of a fight, take the bolt and carrier out of your rifle, put a left-hand bolt in it so you can shoot from the other shoulder. That's not what I'm talking about. So anyway, this rifle also has this little trap door right here. This allows you to see down into the action of the rifle. That is, again, because you don't have an ejection port if you get a malfunction to see what's going on inside the rifle. If you have some sort of a malfunction or you want to see what's going on, you flip up that trap door and it gives you access to the rifle. You can see the operating mechanism of the rifle through that trap door. The charging handle on the rifle is right here. It's a forward charging system. You can also lock the bolt open by rotating the handle up and over. The rifle does not lock open on the last shot fired. It's also a .223 or 5.56 caliber rifle. That means that you can fire both the military spec 5.56 ammunition out of it or the .223. It'll operate with both. It does have a gas selector up here, so you can also fire it in the suppressed mode if you would like to. The rifle's very easy to disassemble. We'll take it apart for you here in just a couple of minutes. But let's do some shooting with the rifle. To make the rifle ready for shooting, you'll want to grab a magazine. In this case, this is a Swamp Fox rig by UW Gear. Take a 30-round magazine. Now, the rifle only likes USGI style magazines. The ribs that you see on this magazine are important because there's a set of wipes inside the magazine well that will prevent you from putting other magazines in this rifle, like a PMag or a Lancer 5 or a TSD Combat Systems, which is very similar to the Lancer 5. It will only accept USGI style magazines. To load the weapon, you put the magazine in, the charging handle's right here, charge the rifle, and your selector lever is right inside your trigger guard. You push it over to the fire position, shoulder, and fire. You'll notice that the rounds, or their spent cases I should say, are being ejected out the front of the rifle. The rifle also has a port cover that you can flip closed to keep the ingress of debris out. But as soon as you start firing the rifle, it'll kick that trap door open and the spent casings will resume falling out of the front of the rifle. People like to complain about the triggers on the bullpups. While this trigger is very plasticky feeling, it's a light, crisp trigger pull. I would put it right around 7.5 pounds. It has a little bit of creep in it, whatever, but it's not a hard trigger to get used to. I can fire the rifle pretty fast. I don't know how many rounds I have left in here, but I can show you that you can shoot this rifle relatively quickly. Yeah, as you know, I only have 1 round left. To pull the magazine out, again, it did not lock open on that last shot. To pull the magazine out, there's a button right here in the back of the pistol grip. You hit it with your hand to pull the magazine out. Grab a fresh magazine, insert it into the rifle, charge the rifle, and then resume firing. So the trigger is very light and crisp, and again, you can shoot it very quickly. Overall, I like the handling characteristics of this rifle. It's very light, quick, easy to maneuver from target to target, and it balances well. Most of the weight is back here, so you can sit in the ready firing position for extended periods of time and not have any fatigue. I'm firing Wolf ammunition, so it also fires steel-cased ammo reliably. Field stripping the FS2000 is relatively simple. To start off, of course, you want to make sure that the weapon is clear. To do that, you make sure you have a magazine out of the rifle. You want to flip open the access door here in the back and pull the bolt to the rear and look inside. I can see the chamber is clear and empty. I'll go ahead and let the bolt go home. I do have the weapon on safe. You'll start off by taking the buttstock apart. You can do that by just pulling up on the rear tab of the butt pad and just pushing the butt plate off. It's just a friction fit. There are no locks or anything like that. At that point, the trigger group will come right out of the back of the stock. Next, there's a disassembly button. It's a cross block pin right here. You push that pin, push forward or push back on the upper receiver assembly so you can get that pin out. You'll push it across, draw it out, and now the rifle will come apart into 2 pieces. The receivers will come apart. This is your upper barreled receiver with the gas system in it. I'll go ahead and lay that over here. And then inside your stock, you'll have your bolt and carrier and gas piston. That just pulls out like that. That's basically all you have to do to field strip the rifle. You can see right through the stock, it's hollow. It's very simple to disassemble. One thing I want to point out, this trigger pack is an early trigger pack. It still has its disconnector in it for full auto fire. They've taken this out in later models. I was actually somewhat surprised the ATF let this come into the country like this with the disconnector in place. But you don't want to tamper with this mechanism. If you have one of these early rifles, do not mess with it. It's no joke, guys. The NFA is not something you want to mess with. It's not worth doing 10 years over and tinkering with these trigger packs trying to make these illegal machine guns. Just simply don't do it. I just wanted to point that out to you guys in case you see that this one's a little bit different than the rifle perhaps you would buy tomorrow. You'll notice there's some pieces missing from the trigger pack. But this is a semi-automatic trigger pack, and it is BATF approved for import. One more thing I want to show you guys before I put the rifle back together is you can actually take this forward grip off and you can put railed grip assemblies on the front of the rifle. Putting the rifle back together again is relatively simple. You can start off by putting the bolt and carrier back into the rifle. There's notches that it rides in. You have to line those up, push it to the rear. Take your barreled upper, line up the various rails, slide it back. Make sure that your pin didn't get pushed across. Push it together, push your cross block pin back, and now you have the 2 uppers and lowers mated back together. Put your trigger pack in the buttstock. See if I can do it from here. Just like that. And then putting this butt plate on can be a little bit challenging. See if I can do it without cussing. You have to kind of have 3 hands. You want to pull the tab back. This is what kind of holds it together. Pull the tab back and line up the slots. And just push it on, it'll pop into place. Do a quick function check. And the rifle's back together again. I'm downrange after firing 5 rounds of this PMC 55 grain 223 ammunition out of the FS2000. This 5-shot group is just about 2.5 inches, which is about average for the rifle. If you get match ammunition and spend a little bit more time on the range, perhaps with a magnified optic, you might get that down to 1.5, 2 inches. I've never really done any better than 1.5 inches with the rifle, having it properly rested with a magnified optic using high quality ammunition like Federal Gold Metal. So you can expect maybe 2.5 to 3 inch accuracy out of the rifle using standard 223 ammunition such as this PMC or Wolf 55 grain or even M193 or M855 ammo. Pretty typical accuracy for a rifle of its type. One of the questions I get asked quite a bit ever since posting my F2000 full auto video is how robust is the ejection system on the rifle? Can it handle having stuff in the ejection tube, or can it be fired at an upward angle and still reliably cycle? The answer to that question is yes. Let me demonstrate something here for you guys. I'm going to take a loaded magazine, I'm going to put it into the rifle, load the rifle, make sure that it's on safe, and now I'm going to take spent cases and load them into the ejection port here. The rifle will hold about 6 spent cases. I can just see the neck of that 6th case in there, and now I'm going to snap the ejection port closed. It does snap in the closed position. Now I can't fire the rifle straight up in the air for safety concerns, but what I can do is fire it to the top of my berm back here, which will put the muzzle at a slight upward elevation. I'm also going to fire the rifle at an angle, so it's going to have to kick the ammo out and up to clear the ejection chute. This is again going to test the reliability of the ejection system. As you can see, the rifle has absolutely no problems kicking out those spent cases in the ejection chute or firing at an upward angle or even firing on its side. It's a very reliable system, I found. There are things I like and dislike about the FS2000. Some of the stuff I like about the rifle is it's relatively lightweight. Empty, it's just shy of 8 pounds. It's about 7.5 pounds or so. So it shoulders nicely, it points quickly. It's a very handy rifle. It feels really good in the shoulder. This may look uncomfortable, this guppy front end, but it feels good in the shoulder, and I think that overall the weapon handles very well. The controls are logical. I like the safety lever being in the trigger guard. It's really easy to get to, and it's simple to use. The charging handle is big and easy to access and easy to use. It's very HK stylish. It's just a little bit closer to your face, obviously, because of the shorter overall length of the rifle. I do like the 1913 style rail across the top of the rifle. You can easily put different optics on it. This is an EOTech. You can put a magnified optic on it very quickly. It's nice. It comes with iron sights right out of the box. It won't come with the sight. There are models that do come with a 1-power sight integrated into the rifle. However, I prefer this tactical model, which has this 1913 style rail. It's a little bit more universal. Some of the stuff I don't like about the rifle, however, first of all, the rifle will only accept, again, USGI magazines. That means it has to have a profile similar to this with the ribbing on it. If it doesn't, it's not going to work in the rifle. So PMags, things like that, simply don't work in the rifle. The reason being is because this rifle is based around what I call a closed system. Its defense against the elements is to seal itself. To that end, there's little rubber wipes inside the magazine well that follow the contours of the ribbing of a USGI magazine. So when you put the magazine into the rifle, those wipes seal against the magazine and stop any ingress of debris from coming in through the magazine well. You'll also notice the ejection port. There is no ejection port except for this one out here. To access the chamber area, you have to open up that trap door again. This whole area is sealed. That's how this weapon works well in adverse conditions. It seals itself against those elements. So if you were to remove those wipes inside the magazine well, which you can cut them out of there with a razor blade or something like that, you could then use other magazines, but then you've kind of defeated one of the defense mechanisms of the rifle against malfunctions. So I don't recommend doing it. Just use USGI magazines. There's plenty of high quality magazines out there. The other thing I don't like about it is if you get a malfunction because you don't have a conventional ejection port, to clear a malfunction, they do happen. I've owned this rifle for a couple of years. It's a very reliable rifle, but malfunctions do occur. To clear a malfunction, you have to flip this ejection port cover open, take the magazine out of the rifle, pull the bolt to the rear, and shake it to get the spent casing out. If you get a really nasty malfunction, you're going to find yourself disassembling the rifle to clear it. Fortunately, I haven't had too many of those types of malfunctions. Most malfunctions I've had, I can just pull the bolt back, look inside there, poke my finger and knock whatever it is out of the way and get the rifle working again. It's just not as simple or as fast as a rifle like the AK or the AR-15. But overall, I do like the rifle. I like the handling characteristics of the rifle, and I think overall it's a high quality rifle that works quite well. Well guys, it's time for some final thoughts on the FNH FS2000. This rifle comes to market right around $1,800 bucks. You can find it for $1,800, $1,900 depending on where you search online. It's not inexpensive. It's an expensive rifle. But in terms of bullpups, this is probably one of the best bullpups on the market. Granted, it has some quirks that perhaps you may not like. It doesn't lock open the last round fired. You have to do weird things to clear malfunctions if you get one. However, I've gotten used to some of those operating quirks, and I really like the rifle. I like the way it handles, I like the way it shoots, I like the way it feels. I even like the way the thing looks. This awkward pistol grip is actually quite ergonomic. So overall, I do like the rifle. If you guys have any questions about this rifle, you can always ask those questions on our Facebook page. You can find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/military arms. As always, everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for those subs. We'll talk to you guys soon.